The air in Bellbridge hung heavy with the scent of magnolias, their sweet perfume a deceptive mask for the secrets lurking beneath the town's charming veneer. The Clayton house, perched atop Cedar Hill, was a portrait of domestic bliss. Its sprawling veranda overlooked manicured lawns, a testament to Lana Clayton's dedication to appearances. Her life, much like the perfectly arranged hydrangeas gracing her porch, seemed idyllic. Lana was the epitome of Southern charm, her days filled with charity luncheons and gardening clubs. Her husband, Paul, was a pillar of the community, his name synonymous with success and respectability. Their life together, at least on the surface, was the envy of Bellbridge. Beneath the surface, however, a current of discontent churned. Lana's smiles were growing strained, her eyes often distant, lost in a labyrinth of unspoken thoughts. The life she so carefully curated felt like a gilded cage, suffocating her with its expectations. As she poured another glass of sweet tea, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the pristine kitchen, a chilling thought crossed her mind. How easy it would be, she mused, to simply disappear, to shed this carefully constructed life like a snake shedding its skin. Paul Clayton was a man of exacting standards, his life ruled by order and control. He expected the same from Lana, her every action scrutinized, her every move designed to please him. The pressure was relentless, a suffocating weight on her chest. Arguments, once a rarity, became more frequent, their hushed tones echoing in the cavernous halls of their home. Lana found herself withdrawing further, seeking solace in solitude, her only companions her anxieties and the ever-present fear of Paul's disapproval. Late at night, while Paul slept, Lana would escape to her small study, the only room in the house where she felt a semblance of peace. Surrounded by her books, she would lose herself in stories of faraway lands and daring escapes, longing for a life less ordinary. It was during one of these late-night escapes that Lana stumbled upon a website dedicated to exotic poisons, their origins shrouded in mystery, their effects deadly. The website, with its dark, alluring text, promised power, control. It whispered to Lana's deepest fears and desires, offering a dangerous solution to her increasingly desperate situation. The seed of an idea, planted in the fertile ground of Lana's despair, began to take root. She found herself returning to the website again and again, drawn to its promises of a swift, silent solution. She justified her actions to herself, whispering that she was merely researching, satisfying a morbid curiosity. But deep down, Lana knew she was crossing a dangerous line, the allure of the forbidden too strong to resist. Days turned into weeks, each one blurring into the next, a monotonous cycle of pretense and quiet desperation. Lana's trips to the library became more frequent, her interest in botany taking a sinister turn as she devoured books on poisonous plants, their properties, and their effects. Her once bright eyes, now clouded with a chilling secret, darted nervously around rooms, her every word measured, her every smile strained. The townsfolk of Bellbridge, oblivious to the turmoil brewing beneath the surface, continued to whisper about the Claytons' seemingly perfect life. It was a sweltering July evening, the air thick with humidity and unspoken tension. Paul, his face flushed from a day spent on the golf course, sat at the head of their mahogany dining table, his demeanor as imposing as ever. Lana, her movements measured, her hands steady, poured him a glass of his favorite iced tea, the clinking of ice cubes the only sound in the oppressive silence. He took a long gulp, oblivious to the danger lurking within the amber liquid. As Paul savored the familiar taste, a slow smile spread across Lana's face, a chilling contrast to the fear that flickered in her eyes. It was done. The deed, planned and executed with chilling precision, was complete. The following days were a blur of feigned grief and carefully crafted alibis. Lana played the role of the grieving widow to perfection, her performance so convincing that even those closest to her suspected nothing. The investigation into Paul Clayton's death was swift and decisive. The police, swayed by Lana's convincing grief and the lack of any obvious foul play, ruled it a heart attack. Life in Bellbridge, seemingly undisturbed by the tragedy, began to return to its usual rhythm. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. A series of seemingly unrelated events, a careless whisper overheard at the local pharmacy, a suspicious purchase made online, began to unravel the carefully woven tapestry of Lana's lies. The whispers started subtly, like the rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze, spreading through the town like wildfire. Had anyone actually seen Paul Clayton's will? Was it true that Lana had inherited everything? And what about those strange books on poisonous plants the librarian had mentioned? The police, initially dismissive, were forced to reopen the investigation, the weight of circumstantial evidence mounting against Lana. The town watched with bated breath as the truth, like a poisonous vine, began to choke the life out of Lana's carefully constructed facade. The arrest of Lana Clayton sent shockwaves through Bellbridge, shattering the town's tranquility like a stone thrown into a still pond. Neighbors whispered in hushed tones, their faces a mixture of disbelief and morbid fascination. The woman they thought they knew, the perfect wife, the devoted member of their community, was now a suspected murderess. The revelation was too shocking, too close to home for many to comprehend. News crews descended upon Bellbridge, their cameras capturing every gasp, every tear, every whispered accusation. The once peaceful town was thrust into the national spotlight, its dirty laundry aired for all to see. The trial, when it finally began, was a media circus, the courtroom packed with curious onlookers and seasoned reporters eager to chronicle the downfall of Lana Clayton. The prosecution, armed with a mountain of evidence and the testimony of several key witnesses, painted a picture of a cold, calculating woman driven to murder by greed and a desire for freedom. Lana sat in the sterile confines of the courtroom, her face pale, her eyes downcast, the weight of her secrets pressing down on her like a physical burden. Gone was the composed, confident woman who had once commanded the attention of Bellbridge society. Her lawyer, a shrewd, silver-haired man with a reputation for taking on difficult cases, argued that Lana was a victim, a woman trapped in a loveless, controlling marriage, driven to desperate measures by a husband who abused her both physically and emotionally. The courtroom became a battleground of narratives, each side presenting their version of the truth, each detail scrutinized, analyzed, dissected. The jury, tasked with sifting through the lies and half-truths, listened intently, their faces betraying nothing. As the trial progressed, the prosecution presented a compelling case, their evidence, both physical and circumstantial, weaving a damning narrative of premeditation and guilt. They presented witnesses who testified to Lana's increasingly erratic behavior in the months leading up to Paul's death, her growing interest in poisons, her desperate search for a way out of her marriage. The defense, however, was ready with a counter-narrative, one that painted Lana as a victim of circumstance, a woman pushed to the brink by a domineering husband who controlled her every move. They presented evidence of Paul's controlling behavior, his history of infidelity, his volatile temper. They argued that Lana, a woman of fragile mental state, had snapped under the pressure, her actions a desperate attempt to break free from a toxic, abusive relationship. Their aim was to evoke sympathy, to portray Lana as a victim driven to the unthinkable by a man who held her captive in a gilded cage of his own making. The courtroom, once buzzing with anticipation, fell silent as Lana, her face etched with a mixture of fear and defiance, took the stand. Her voice, barely a whisper, filled the room as she recounted her version of events. Her words carefully chosen, her demeanor a strange mix of vulnerability and steely resolve. She spoke of her love for Paul, of her desperate attempts to please him, of the slow erosion of her spirit under his controlling influence. She described her growing fear, her isolation, her sense of utter helplessness as Paul tightened his grip on her life, chipping away at her sense of self until there was nothing left but a hollow shell. The courtroom, captivated by her performance, hung on her every word. Some saw a master manipulator, a woman adept at twisting the truth to fit her own narrative. Others saw a victim, a woman broken by years of abuse, finally finding her voice. The jury, tasked with deciphering truth from fiction, deliberated for days, their verdict eagerly awaited by a town hungry for resolution. The tension in the courtroom was palpable, the air thick with anticipation. Finally, the moment arrived. The jury filed back into the courtroom, their faces solemn, their expressions unreadable. A hush fell over the room as the foreman, his voice trembling slightly, read the verdict. Guilty. The word echoed through the courtroom, a hammer blow of justice, sealing Lana Clayton's fate. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd, followed by an outpouring of emotions, a mixture of relief, anger, and a strange sense of satisfaction. In the end, Lana Clayton's carefully constructed facade crumbled, revealing the darkness that lay beneath. The secrets she had guarded so fiercely, the lies she had so meticulously crafted, unraveled, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives in a community grappling with the consequences of her deception. The story of Lana Clayton serves as a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving, that even in the most idyllic of settings, darkness can lurk beneath the surface. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that we may never truly know those around us, that everyone harbors secrets, some more dangerous than others. As the sun set on Bellbridge, casting long shadows over the town, a sense of unease lingered in the air. The trial was over. Justice, in its own imperfect way, had been served. But the echoes of Lana Clayton's deceit, like the whispers of the wind through the magnolias, would continue to haunt the town for years to come.